Hey there everybody, Jimmy with To The Top Crane here. And we are servicing the old 200. The ATF 180G-5 is getting its fluids changed. So started on it yesterday. We got the fuel filters and oil filters and the lower changed. The lower meaning this part, which is the carrier. It's got a Mercedes, what is it? OM502LA. So I think it's a 16-liter V8. But we're gonna wheel underneath this thing. You can see I got it boomed up out of the rack. It's high, about as high as I can go in our shop without taking out a light. And I've got it set to mid-span outriggers. I think you can run these straight down and do some overriding and boom up out of the rack while you're inside a building like this to service it, but I've got room in here, so I just ran it mid-span outriggers. But I'm gonna crawl underneath this thing and take you guys from a ride, or take you guys for a ride, maybe from the front to the back. We'll see. But I did have someone ask where the ladder and stuff stows, so hopefully you can see it under there. It's a little bit dark, but here's the hand crank for the jib pins, and then also our foldable ladder is latched underneath the front of the carrier. So let me get on my creeper, grab a light. We'll wheel under this thing. Alright, got the old handy dandy off-road snap-on creeper out. This is probably going to be pretty shaky under here, but we'll see what we can do with it. Let's see if we can get some decent footage. Got the old LED drop light, and there we go. Hopefully I fit under the axles on this thing. This creeper sits up pretty high. Okay, let's see. So over here we got shut-off valves. I'm recording some video. Say hi, Mike.
What's up? Hi, YouTube.
Shut-off valves for the DEF heater. So there's one there. Where's the other one? There's one over here somewhere. Oh, here it is. It's over here somewhere. Yeah, right there. So what that does, it heats the DEF tanks in the wintertime, keep them from freezing. And then also another kind of neat little unit is right there. It's a diesel fuel fired auxiliary heater, so we can use that to actually warm the engine or preheat the engine in the wintertime. I'm gonna end up running over my cord. Switch hands. Okay, there's steering box with steering shaft. Then front panhard bar for the front axle. Front steering cylinders. Brake pods. And I gotta ask the question if the auto luber greases the kingpins, and it does on this one. I apologize for all the background noise. Sounds like someone just brought a skid loader in. Front differential, and we're gonna keep sliding back. And you can see those auto lubers definitely work. I need to clean some of that grease off. That's pretty excessive. That's the front suspension cylinder on the left front wheel, if you can see it, or left front corner of the crane. Those are basically just, I mean, they're just hydraulic cylinders with an accumulator plumbed into the circuit, and the accumulator gives you your shock absorber effect. But you can also lock those to make them rigid, and there's certain cases that you'd want to do that. If you had counterweights on the deck and needed to move on a hard flat surface, then you can lock the suspension, raise your outriggers, and carefully drive from one spot to another as long as it's hard and flat. But let's see, there's the, oh, it looks like I got a little bit of an oil leak at the back side of the old Mercedes. That'll be a fun one to fix. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Then there's the front end of the transmission, which it's kind of buried up in here. You won't be able to see much of it. But front drive shaft, and then it goes back to a pretty good sized carrier bearing. And all these are high-speed drive lines. The way these axles are set up is, I'm not sure what the gear ratio is in the front end or in the differentials. I think it's 730 something to 1 maybe. And then there's a 4-to-1 gear reduction planetary. I think it's a 4-to-1 gear reduction planetary. If anybody from Tadano is watching and wants to correct me on that, please do so in comments. But I think it's a 4-to-1 gear reduction at the planetaries at the wheel ends. Looks like I got a little bit of an oil leak up in there, so I need to take that cover off and check that. There's a cover up on the deck of the crane I can pull off and get to that stuff. There's a couple hydraulic pumps and some lines and whatnot up in there, so I need to check that out. That's why you get underneath these things from time to time. And then differential for the second axle back. Oh, trailing arms, upper and lower trailing arms. This is a drive shaft that runs from the transfer case to the second axle. And then here in a second we will be to the transfer case, which is about right in the middle of the carrier. Okay, here's the transfer case. I'll try to get the light up in here. It's really hard to record this stuff while you're laying on your back. And you can see there's a, if you can see it, there's a drive shaft up in there that runs from the transmission between the frame rails to the transfer case. Okay, this is the third axle back, and you can see there's no differential in it. It's just along for the ride and carry weight. So it is not powered. It's 8-wheel drive and 10-wheel steer. 8-wheel drive if you lock them all in, but 10-wheel steer. And then drive shaft coming out of the transfer case to the fourth axle. Okay, this is going to be a snug fit under this third axle. Did you get your headlights adjusted?
Yep.
Alright, air tanks. Got 3 in the middle, we got a couple up front. I think there's 4 in the back. So plenty of air for a train horn if I'd ever get one. Which needs to happen, doesn't it, Mike?
Sooner than later.
So that's the drive shaft that runs from the transfer case back to the fourth axle. And you can see there's another port in the chassis under here that you can actually get in, that's right under the turntable. So you can get in there and inspect the between the frame rails and the chassis under the turntable. Oh, I think my cord's hung up. Can you untangle me? Don't unplug me. It get awfully dark in here.
Alright.
Okay, we're good. Okay, hopefully you guys can see up in there. So that is the bottom of the turntable. Right in the center is the electrical swivel that transfers electrical signals from the upper to the lower and whatnot. And I'm not climbing up in there today. Maybe another day. The only way I can get up inside that is I have to raise the outriggers up as far as I can and drop the suspension. And then I can squeeze through here, but we're not doing that today.
Do it by mid-July.
No, we're not doing it mid-July either. It'd be pretty hot.
You'd be thinner then.
Oh yeah, it would be thinner then. Hey, everything I eat is just counterweight for the crane. I guess while I'm here, I'll talk about these things. Wheel speed sensors for the ABS system. So this thing actually does have ABS, but these speed sensors also send a signal to the transmission controller, and it uses that signal to determine what gear to shift into. So in the fifth axle, there's two sensors. There's one on each side, and then I believe there's two sensors in the first axle. It's either the first or the second. I don't remember for sure. But distribution block for the auto luber. And right now we are at the fifth axle. Rear air tanks. So we got two here, two over there. Panhard bar, steering cylinders, brake pods. There's a good view of one of the suspension cylinders, and that one's actually got a sensor in it for the auto level. There's one in each cylinder on each corner, so that's what sets its ride height when you hold the auto level button. And then storage for the pill or the ball. It actually drops through a trap door in the deck and sits in a rack that's mounted to the side of the carrier. Then out to the pintle hitch. So there it is. There's your trip from front to back underneath the crane for those that wanted to see it.